Well, the Central Bureau of Investigation has given a clean chit to corporate lobbyist Niira Radia in a case relating to over 5,000 odd taped conversation. That's our top story at this hour. Very good evening. I'm Afrida Rahman Ali. Let's get you more details on this story, where CBI cited 14 preliminary inquiries to probe the contents of these taped conversations by the Income Tax Department. The inquiries were closed as no case was made of it. The Niira Radia versus Ratan Tata case from 2011 was taken up by the Apex Court, where the central agency told the Supreme Court that its probe into close to 5,800 conversations did not reveal any criminality whatsoever. Ratan Tata had filed a petition in Supreme Court way back in 2011 on the Niira Radia tapes containing intercepts of his conversation with her. In the petition, Ratan Tata had asked the centre to probe the leak of the tapes and take action accordingly, pleading on the basis of right to privacy. The legal tussles timeline, if I may jog our viewers' memory, if we can just go back to year 2009, CBI approached the Director General of Income Tax in the month of November for information on Niira Radia. The same year, on the 20th of November, information by IT department revealed role of corporate players in the policies of Department of Telecom. November 2010, Prashant Bhushan's Centre for Public Interest Litigation, CPIL, approached Supreme Court requesting transcripts to be made public. The next date is important, 18th November 2010. Telephonic conversations between Raja and Radia were made public by the media. That is when this became explosive. 29th of November 2010, Ratan Tata files a petition in Supreme Court on Niira Radia tapes. That is the case taken up by the top court today, where the CBI says no criminality was found. The matter is still underway. The matter has been now adjourned. 24 January 2011, the Supreme Court issued notice to centre on Niira Radia tapes. In the year 2013, the Supreme Court again tells CBI to probe all 14 issues. There's not just one, number of other issues also pending in court. The court says Radia's conversations reveal deep-rooted malice by private enterprises. On the 22nd of May 2015, Niira Radia was let off by the CBI for lack of evidence. On the 6th of January, again 2018, Delhi High Court allowed a defamation suit filed by journalist Veer Sanghvi for hearing by the trial court. So there are multiple number of cases that we are talking about. Today was the case with regards to Ratan Tata's appeal based on right to privacy. Let me go across to Meenakshi to tell us more about this entire case and what transpired in court. Meenakshi?
Well, yes, Afrida, you see, this is a sealed cover report that the CBI had submitted in the Supreme Court in 2015. Today, the law officer, Additional Solicitor General Aishwarya Bhati, has informed the Supreme Court about the pith and substance of this sealed cover report. Like you rightly mentioned, the pith and substance is that the CBI has not found any criminality after investigating 14 preliminary inquiry reports, or the PEs, and that is the pith and substance of the sealed cover report which was submitted by the CBI in 2015, and subsequent to that, in the Supreme Court, this issue has not been conclusively settled. So with regards to that, the matter has been kept pending by the Supreme Court, whether or not to accept this clean chit of no criminality being given by the CBI to Niira Radia, especially because, it is more than 12 years before this entire controversy had erupted in the public domain, which had taken in its entire, which had taken into account the conversations of alleged misdemeanor between Niira Radia and a lot of other corporate lobbyists, journalists and lawyers. So with regards to that, the 2013 order of the Supreme Court, which had ordered for a probe into this issue way back then, assumes a lot of import. I heard you refer to that as well briefly. But the 2013 order of the Supreme Court is as follows, and I quote, "The conversations are indicative of connivance with government officials and others for extraneous purposes interested persons have secured gains from government officers and others which are suggestive of corrupt means being adopted by private parties to extract gains, unquote. So this was the 2013 order of the Supreme Court, which had gone ahead and given the go ahead for the investigating agency to probe in greater detail these alleged misdemeanors. Like you rightly mentioned, this is a writ petition which was filed by Ratan Tata, which is seeking for a comprehensive probe into these allegations. What is also interesting is that there is an NGO led by Mr. Prashant Bhushan, which is CPIL, which is also pressing for a probe into the tapes, and that is also something the Supreme Court will consider. Today, Mr. Bhushan briefly submitted in the Supreme Court as to how this was this controversy which gave rise to the Whistleblowers Act and other facets, in the public domain. And the Supreme Court has kept the matter pending with itself. It has not taken up this case all this while, which is why we did not hear of it. It has surfaced for hearing only today. And today, this disclosure from the law officer herself, Shwara Bhati, saying that the 2015 report in sealed cover submitted by CBI clearly states that after investigation into 14 PEs, there is no evidence of criminality that the agency has found. The Supreme Court has kept the matter pending with itself. It will be hugely interesting to see whether the Supreme Court buys this line of argument of no criminality by the CBI or not.
Okay, Meenakshi, thanks very much for that detailed update. What is important is what you mentioned about Additional Solicitor General Aishwarya Bharti saying nothing survives in the petition now. Justice Chandrachud then saying, let us hear Prashant Bhushan, we will dispose of the matter. Hearing has been adjourned for next week. Meenakshi giving us those details. Let's now welcome Mr. Dilip Cherian, founder of Perfect Relations, joining us here on the program. Mr. Cherian, good evening. Thanks for waiting patiently. I want to begin by asking you that here is a case that has been raging on for quite some time. And the CBI, of course, on an earlier date, way back in 2015 itself had said that there is nothing criminal found in the tapes. The Additional Solicitor General has relied on it and says that there is no further probe that is required. The matter is still underway. But I still want to understand from you the fact that, would you concede that this might be unethical, but there was nothing illegal found in it?
First of all, I think that there are three things that we need to keep in mind. One, that the process, as usual, seems to be the punishment here. Second, as you say, and as the CBI says, is there anything illegal? The answer is there isn't anything illegal in this matter. Number three, the fact that justice is unduly slow is something that is highlighted because many regimes have come and gone, many governments have changed, but the fact remains that as far as agencies such as Niira Radia's, and talking of agencies working for corporations is concerned, it is easy and they become low-hanging fruit. And perhaps this is an example of where they are made the victims and they are actually not, the criminality is not theirs. And the criminality, if it does exist, is certainly not the domain of agencies such as the one that Niira Radia has been working with.
Yes, but what are you then suggesting when you say justice is not meted out? It's been too long drawn a battle. What kind of justice are we talking about? Because corporate lobbying, let's face it, is a global reality, isn't it? And
what I'm saying
yes, go
is
ahead,
that
sir.
I agree. What I'm saying is that there is no illegality. However, punishment has been given unjustifiably. The fact is that you may have organizations such as those claiming to work on behalf of consumer interest. But the fact is that the illegality is certainly not in the domain of what Niira Radia has been doing. And she has unnecessarily been dragged through the process, which she ought not to be the victim of. If there is criminality, it may well be somewhere else. But what I'm saying is that there is a sense of misguided attempts to draw attention to something which seems to be giving it a kind of usiness.
Mr. Dilip Cherian, we are not sure if the court, in any way is condoning corporate lobbying. We are not sure because the matter is still underway. We haven't reached the logical conclusion yet. But to the point about whether this in any way intervenes with a level playing field, that's the primary matter here, isn't it? We all know that people with influence have an advantage, but should that be allowed when it comes to the involvement of the government, to the high officers, access to the high office? All of that was exposed during the 2G scam and what followed after that in the expose with the Radia tapes. The fact is, does this interfere with a level playing field? And if so, then somebody out there is bearing the brunt of it.
It's a good question. As far as level playing field is concerned, the fact is that in corporate rivalry of this kind, you are talking of corporations which are in some senses evenly matched. So it is not a kind of the attempt by consumer organizations is to make it seem like a David and Goliath battle, which it isn't. The point I'm making is that every corporation involved in these high stakes battle has access to and uses whatever access it can. The point I'm making is that Niira Radia has got caught in a crossfire, and I think that the CBI has done the right thing, and the additional Solicitor General has done the right thing by indicating that as far as investigating agencies are concerned, i.e. the CBI, they have found no wrongdoing. And I think that should serve the purpose. What the court finally decides will depend on larger issues, but that I think neither you nor I would want to comment on at this point.
Right. Dilip Cherian, thank you so much for joining us. Yes, we will continue to track this story because there will be others who will say, well, this exposes the corporate, politician, journalist nexus. And that is not something that can thrive since it will, of course, set a lot of things off balance. It is not in the fitness of things to allow such nexuses. That would be the other side of the argument. But I appreciate Mr. Dilip Cherian joining us with his views.